Good morning. Welcome to Neighborhood Church, Universalist Church of Pasadena. Welcome to all members, friends, and guests. My name is Alan Freeman, and I'm serving today as your worship associate. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence in the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. With respect for the rights and wisdoms of indigenous people, we acknowledge our harmful colonial histories and commit to decolonizing our own practices, to learning new ways of being in community and with each other, in good relationship with the indigenous people of this land and with the land itself. Today's service is led by Reverend James Ford. Our music today is led by Music Director Dr. Zenaida Robles with Associate Director Wells Lang, and the Neighborhood Bell Choir led by Thomas Simpson. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. Families with young children are always welcome in the sanctuary, but there's additional seating in the entry foyer or narthex. I have one brief announcement. Bring holiday cheer into the life of a local foster kid or youth that Neighborhood Church helps support. Select a child or young adult from our list for the younger kids, and the older ones prefer gift cards. Sign up online or see the newsletter for the link. At our Foster Youth ACAC table on the patio, you can go there after services today or December 8th. If you have any questions, please contact Lynn Miyamoto. We have more announcements as well, and our order of service this morning are available as a link in the Sunday email. Our order of service is also visible online or by scanning the QR code on the back of your hymnal with your phone camera. Again, welcome to Neighborhood Church. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, welcome to this inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service.
So, I don't know when I first heard the phrase, "May you live in interesting times," as a curse. But I did get it. And here we are, in the most interesting of times. One of the things that called me into the Unitarian Universalist way is how it is a place where people with a wide range of spiritual interests meet to support each other in bringing our ideals into a practical, socially engaged way. So, two things. Spiritually, we are, well, all over the map. Our institutional origins are from the radical Protestant movements of 19th century American Unitarianism and Universalism. Spiritually, we are the direct descendants of New England's transcendentalists. And we have long been marked by a rationalist and humanist streak. We have long cherished Jewish, Buddhist, and earth-centered perspectives as living parts of our shared lives. And we are now actively welcoming Muslim and Hindu, indeed the widest possible range of spiritualities, into the mix of our radical welcoming. The common thread among us is, I feel, a naturalist appreciation of what the religions of the world can bring at their most positive. So, we're not uncritical, but we are appreciative. And at our best, we stand humbly before the great wisdoms, seeking the ways of connection, of expressing our wild interdependence. The other thing is that interesting times and socially engaged. It is the expression of that intuition of interdependence. These are difficult times for many. Indeed, the world itself, life itself, is being challenged by our human actions. And our Unitarian Universalist ethos is to meet these challenges, these interesting times. This month is dedicated to presence. In several spiritual traditions, presence is seen as the mother of wisdom. And so, we light our chalice, symbol of our welcoming the moment, our commitment to being present to each other. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries to be present. And honoring that specific of presence and our looking for wisdom within the traditions of religions, we light the first of the 4 Advent candles. Candles are universal. As near as I can tell, all cultures have seen the spiritual symbolism of flame, of casting light. I think of our UU chalice as such a light. Advent candles seem to emerge in their earliest form in ancient Scandinavia in the darkest part of the year, each lit in anticipation of and hoping for the light. Christians saw the wisdom of that lighting and in Germany connected it to the advent of Christmas. A Hindu teacher, Swami Yogananda, suggested each of the 4 candles could be lit with the thought in turn of hope, peace, joy, and love. A theme for each week as we race to the birth of a new year and new possibility. So, with respect, with humility, with a desire to open our hearts, let's kindle this first of our Advent candles in the spirit of hope.
Again, these things take time.
Hope burns a very small flame at first. It usually takes a little work, and maybe we will move into that a bit. Our senior minister, Reverend Omega, calls us to prophetic witness. Out of that moment, I think we have. Here we are, the 1,000-odd Unitarian Universalist congregations across the continent and a few more around the globe, gathering at roughly this hour on roughly this day. Each of us kindling flames of hope, kindling flames of possibility, remembering the threads of universal wisdom, remembering the call to engagement, to act out of those insights. Today, in the spirit of presence, let us gather together. In the spirit of all this, may we worship together. Let us gather. Let us gather.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 349, We Gather Together.
Are there any kids or would-be kids who are going to come? So I'm going to aim over here because I'm old, and if I go down there, I don't think I'm getting up. Does this pick up, or do I need to get it closer to me? It does not pick up. I have professional assistants. So, do any of you know that hymn, Filled with Loving Kindness, that we sometimes sing? No, yes? No, yes? So, it's in the teal hymnal for the guys among us, that's blue. I thought it was funny. it's based on an ancient Buddhist text, but it's put together, and the music was provided by Mark Hayes and Reverend Ian Riddle. Reverend Ian is the minister of our church in Palm Springs, and I believe he's been here in the past. Kind of a wonderful, wonderful human. The loving kindness is based upon a text, the Karinya Metta Sutta, which is a hymn that we're moderately confident was written by Gautama Siddhartha, the Buddha of history. If you are unfamiliar with him, there are no contemporaries images of what he looked like, but actually the original symbols for Buddhism were like 2 footprints, empty, gone, or a Bodhi leaf, or a tree, the Bodhi tree. After Alexander's armies came to India, the Buddhists, among others, said, hey, I like their art. And so the earliest pictures of Gautama Siddhartha all suspiciously look like Alexander the Great. There is tons of irony in that. So loving kindness, we use it as like one word, the loving and the kindness, and we put it together, and so it's how we feel, and then how we act out of that feeling. So kind of cool. The hymn, as we use it, has 3 parts. May I feel, and it's got a little list, and then may you feel, and then may we feel. Actually, the way the spiritual practice that came out of the hymn, that emerged in within a century or two of the hymn being written, has 6 parts. And I thought it might be fun for us to, I have weird ideas of fun, but I thought it might be fun that we might actually try to do the practice together. We'll do it, and they can sort of watch us and see if we can trick them into thinking it might be important. So probably the biggest wishes are, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I live with ease. So let's make sure we all know what that is. Do we know what happy is? Yes. Yeah. Cool. Do we have a sense of what safe is? Yes. All right. What about ease? What is that? What do you think? Well, why don't you start with?
Well, ease is like you're calm.
Ease is like you're calm.
And you just add it like this.
Yeah, that seemed to be the gist of it. Do you have an addition? You're relaxed. And you feel like you're safe. I think between those 2 things, we got a definition of ease. So perfect. So now, what we're going to do now together is kind of, do we know what meditate means? Yes. Yeah. Okay. What is meditate? It means calm down and go into relaxation. And yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of meditation actually, but that's the most popular form, and I think what most of us mean when we use the word meditation. The Zen people among us may have a slightly different definition. So why don't we start by thinking about me? Each of you, not me, you, me. Yeah, okay, all right. So now, if you sit down and be quiet and think while I'm with you, may I be happy? And are you thinking, may I be happy? Is that sort of like trying to feel it? You don't have to be happy, you just want to be happy. May I be safe? Kind of feel that, and I feel safe. May I live with ease? And we probably shouldn't poke each other while we're doing this. On the other hand, sometimes we have to. Yeah. Okay, now here's a hard part. you have to think of a friend, somebody that is your friend, okay? You got one? Do we all have one? Can you think of a friend? Okay, all right. So now we sit down and we be quiet and we think, may my friend be happy. May my friend be safe. May my friend live with ease. You can see how you can do that over time and sort of really get into it too, if you wanted to. Now, we come to kind of a hard one. You got to kind of think of somebody that you barely know. Maybe it's somebody like, maybe it's the mailman that you see occasionally. You got somebody? All right, great. So somebody who you see occasionally, but you don't really, maybe you don't know their name, and you don't have strong feelings one way or another. Yes? Oh, all right, we got at least 2, and we probably have a couple more. Yeah. 3, we're cooking. Maybe 4. All right. So, may that person be happy. May that person be safe. May that person live with ease. Now we come to a hard one. Most of the grown-ups would have a great deal of trouble doing this one, but I bet you guys can do it. And that is, you have to think of somebody who has not been nice to you. Somebody, well, give it a shot. Yeah, and let's see what we can do. Can you think of somebody that's not been nice to you? Things? Yes, okay, all right. Good. Okay, we're ready to go. May that person be happy. May that person be safe. May that person live with ease. Now, it gets a little easier. All of us, the 4, me, the person I barely know, the person I really like, the person who's been mean to me. May we all be happy. Yeah. May we all be safe. May we all live with ease. And then we have one more. Think of the world. Think of everything in the world, not just the people, all the people, but not just the people, the trees and the ocean and the bugs, spit, everything, okay? Can you kind of picture the whole, no? Well, let's sit together, sort of, maybe if you think of no. Well, sometimes we just sort of go along with the crowd, and try to feel good about everyone. So, okay, all right. So, may the whole world be happy. May the whole world be safe. Is there a comment in there? Did you want to add a word? Yes. What is? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it, but. If all of us are safe and happy, the world will be safe and happy. May we all live with ease. Amen. Thank you.
Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of its contributions to the 501c3 organizations or neighborhood church-based social justice activities that are making a difference in our community and the world. Each selected guest organization aligns with our community mission and values and is nominated by church members who often are longtime volunteers and supporters of these change-making organizations. You can donate in one of two ways. You can use your cell phone to donate by texting the number on the screen, or if you prefer to donate in person, put your donation in one of the designated boxes here in the sanctuary, in the front, behind the back center row, and in the narthex entry on your table. You may rise during the music to put your donation in the box. If you wish, please extend help to those in your neighborhood who may need assistance reaching the donation boxes. If you wish to make a payment toward your pledge or communicate to church operations, make a note in the subject or use the envelope available in the donation boxes. This week, our gifts will support Camp de Venable Pines, and here with more information is Paul Wallace.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning. I'm Paul Wallace, as you know now, member of Neighborhood Church, and I've been on the board of directors of Camp de Venable Pines for about my term. I'm terming out soon. Many of you have participated in our church's annual summer and winter camps, and your support of camp through your participation is much appreciated. For those who have had opportunity to spend a weekend or to volunteer at camp, Camp de Venable Pines is a mountain retreat, who have not had opportunity to go to camp. It's a mountain retreat about 90 miles east of here. It is owned by the UU churches in the Southwest Pacific District, which includes about 25 congregations that actively participate in camp activities and offerings. This past year, 10 groups of UU congregations held weekend retreats, including Neighborhood Church. But we're the only one that does 2 annual retreats. Judy and I found that going to Neighborhood's weekend was a great way for us to connect with members of the church in a beautiful mountain setting. We made friendships at camp that really made us feel more connected with this congregation. In addition to the UU congregational camps, camp-sponsored events include UU Senior High Winter Camp coming up December 28th, UU Elementary Family Winter Camp in February, Rainbow Family Camp, Camp Transcend, which is specifically for transgender youth and families, UU Men's Fellowship, UU Women's Spring Retreat, Yoga and Whole Living Camp, Art Camp for grown-ups. This used to be called Adult Art Camp. There are good reasons why Janet decided to change the name to avoid confusion. The camp's board of directors many years ago decided that pricing for camps would be below the actual cost for putting on these camps to encourage the widest possible participation. The difference would be made via donations. Our camp in the mountains has just started to recover from the COVID pandemic and the recent forest fires. The good news is that Camp de Venable Pines, its immediate vicinity, and the nearby community of Angeles Oaks were spared from the recent fires. However, September camps were canceled due to the line fire. Donations were and are essential to keeping our camp going. Today's offering will be part of Neighborhood Church's contribution to sustaining our UU Mountain Camp Retreat. Please give generously. If you have questions about Camp de Venable Pines, I'll be around on the patio after service. Your generosity is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you all for giving generously.
creative appreciation of a poem by Rumi by Coleman Barks. Not Christian or Jew or Muslim, not Hindu, Buddhist, Sufi, or Zen, not any religion or cultural system. I am not from east or west, not out of the ocean or up from the ground, not natural or ethereal, not composed of elements at all, but I see some possible contribution here. I love that this congregation's filled with kids. Yeah, you guys make it alive. Thank you. I do not exist, am not an entity in this world or the next, did not descend from Adam or Eve or any origin story. My place, like we were just witnessed, my place is placeless, a trace of the traceless, neither body nor soul. I belong to the beloved, have seen the two worlds as one, and that one call to and know first, last, outer, inner, only that breath-breathing human being. Let us gather by the river. There's a fair chance you've heard a version of this story. Nonetheless, it feels relevant enough to share again. Agnes was sitting at Thanksgiving dinner with the family. At the end, her daughter Rebecca served her justly famous pumpkin pie for dessert. Agnes took a bite, then looked at her empty fork and declared to all assembled, "I must see the guru." Everyone at the table tried to persuade her to not. The bottom line argument being, you're too old for the trip. After a terribly long flight, you'd have to ride a bus for 10 more hours, and besides, it's just too dangerous. It's in the farthest, most remote part of northeastern India. There are bandits and Marxist revolutionaries behind every rock. But Agnes had it in her heart and could not be argued out of it. She purchased airline tickets and early in December took the 34-hour flight from New Jersey to Delhi. There somehow she found the bus and then took the 10-hour ride to the remote location where the ashram stood. Getting off the bus, she walked up the long, dusty path from the road to the ashram central building. There she pounded the knocker, and a young monk in saffron robes opened the door. She said, "I must see the guru." He replied how he was unaware of any special appointments for that day. She said she didn't have one, but it was essential she see the guru. He looked her up and down, made some kind of decision, escorted her to an interior garden, gave her some tea, and asked her to wait. About an hour passed when he returned and said the guru would see her, but that she could only ask a single question. She agreed and was escorted into a large hall where the guru was seated on a dais in front of about 50 students. The incense was nearly overpowering, and she felt a little lightheaded. But she walked up to the dais and, without making the traditional bow, said, "Marvin, it's time to come home." An old joke. But that it's an old joke says a lot. Spirituality in all its many forms has become as common as a nice Jewish boy from New Jersey becoming a guru in India. It's a thing, no doubt. There are ads everywhere offering accessories for your spiritual journey. From pants to hats to computer apps to retreats, complete with gourmet vegan meals, massage therapists on call, and late afternoon cocktails. Bookstore shelves are teeming with volumes on the subject. I've even contributed to that mess myself, and I do take this opportunity to apologize. There are classes available in many church basements and even studios devoted exclusively to yoga and meditation. For the past several decades, specialized schools have emerged dedicated to training and certification for the aspiring spiritual leader. As for spiritual practices themselves, my, oh my, there are hundreds, thousands of spiritual practices on offer. And of course, people offering instruction, usually for a reasonable fee. What I will try to give you today is a brief way through the larger issues involved. I'll talk a little bit about that word spiritual, then in passing address spiritual direction, and finally talk just a little about spiritual practices. In this, I'm holding in mind the mildly skeptical but curious. Hopefully what I offer here will illuminate some of what this is all about and why, in its several forms, digging into matters spiritual might be important. The word spiritual is one of those words that have come to have so many meanings that some suggest it would be better to just abandon it, maybe in favor of something else, or rather a bunch of different and more specific terms. I continue to think the word spiritual has value, even if it must be parsed. The etymology of the word spiritual suggests breath, spirit, ruha, atman, chi, ki, all derived from someone's word for breath. And I think that's what it is about, that which is as fundamental as our breath, our breathing. In one sense, it means life, core, essence, the heart of the matter. But what about those different spirituals? For many people, spirituality is about mind-body connections. Spiritual is taking a breath in the middle of the storm, gathering ourselves, lowering blood pressure, being mindful of what's good, relaxing. Good stuff, much of it. And noting that, I really want to talk about the less forward spirituality or spiritualities. When I speak of spiritual, I'm almost always talking about the stuff that has informed the mystical traditions within the world's traditions. Mystical, another word that begs definition. Let's just stipulate I'm not talking about bending spoons or the range of psychic phenomena. What I am talking about as spiritual is an intuition that somehow we are, all of us, despite our sense of separateness, nonetheless also connected. A term from Hinduism seems to me best hinting at what this twin insight is. The term is non-dual. Not precisely one, not exactly two. That's the spiritual I'm speaking of. That's the mystical of mysticism within the world's traditions. As a small aside, not where I want to stay for this talk, but very important, I suggest this non-dual intuition expresses as the near universal maxim we call the golden rule. If we are, in fact, all of us connected in some way, what naturally follows is a concern for the well-being of others. One might argue, and I have for some 30-odd years of my ministerial life, that the deep calls to social justice arises from this natural as natural can be intuition of our radical interdependence. What I want to hold up are those spiritualities that take us into the deep places, where we encounter the varieties in which these twin insights inform each other and create a state of being. And with that, to speak of the spiritual practices that support this growing into depth, into our communion with each other and the world. The words different religions use for this deep insight and transformations of abiding perspective include enlightenment, salvation, and awakening. These words mostly presume this perspective is inherent. We only need to spark it and, well, cultivate it. Our spiritual practices are the actions and activities with which we cultivate these insights, like cultivating a garden, like practicing loving kindness. Although many of our teachers also note, while we cultivate, the awakening seems to come by itself, a gift, a grace. But the gift seems most to come to those who cultivate receptivity. Now, there are a lot of practices out there, and I've noted they're not, I didn't note, but I thought, they're not all equal. For me, I would add that essential markers of any particular spiritual discipline include, does it actually challenge you to open up your heart and mind? And critically, does it provide a way to check your sense of where you're at on the journey? The practice alone may not do that, but if it is part of a package where you check in with a friend who has walked the way before, then many, many, many practices will work. With that, finally, spiritual practice. And so, what about practice? I love the word with its dual meanings of preparing and doing, both. Different traditions have different goals, at least at the surface level, even when dealing with those fundamental questions of life and death. For instance, some are theistic and some are not, and therefore, of course, different practices. I think of the spiritual calendars of the Abrahamic traditions. I find the cycles of life presented in the Jewish calendar amazingly healthy. It's all rooted in the cycles of our liberation. The Christian cycles are similarly healthy, showing our lives as a rhythm of life, death, and rebirth. The Advent candle, did it make it still there? The Advent, I noticed we did at UU, you're never supposed to light the colored one until the end, but we're Unitarians. The Advent candle is our opportunity to pause and contemplate love, hope, joy, and peace in the traditional ordering. Following Henry Thoreau, I suggest there's a deep spiritual practice in walking. There are types of writing that open our hearts, and there are structured and profound ways to have a conversation. In recent decades, a number of people are reclaiming the wisdom of Greek and Roman philosophy. Others take on loving kindness and mindfulness practices. As for me, my practices can be summarized as sit down, shut up, and pay attention. They have shaped my life. There is much on offer that can be called a spirituality of depth. And if we see them as natural things, then they become things we can engage without fully embracing the traditions in which they arose. Respect is important, but respect cuts in a lot of directions. Let me make a categorical assertion about this kind of spirituality. Spiritual practices are not about making you feel better, not these. They are about walking through a door from one place to another. We have a number of placeholder terms we like for that place. God is a big one. Heaven is another. In my circles, the Pure Land is not unheard of, though maybe in Zen we prefer words like real or this very place, this very moment. Shunyata, the farther shore. For the more abstract-minded, absolute relative, two words mushed together. We are being invited to see that our ordinary ideas about who we are rarely accurate as anything more than a vague approximation. Spiritual practices take us into authenticity, into intimacy with what is. The word I have over the years come to find most useful for what we're looking for in these spiritual practices is home. Remember, Agnes said to Marvin, "Come home." I looked briefly into that word home, and it seems to mean a place where we come together. What a lovely expression for non-dual. We are each of us unique, but we need each other. To become human, we need each other. There is a unity of the heart gathered with other hearts. Think of it as some mystical reality that we find in our ordinary lives when we turn our hearts and our attention to the ordinary matters of life, fully. Intimacy and ordinary and home seem to be deeply connected. It's where we find life. It's what shows us how to be of use. And oh my, we're going to need that in this next year or two. It's what whispers in our hearts a call to the work of justice. That's kind of it. Opening our hearts, opening our minds, seeing who we are. And from that, discovering who it is we might become. And that, my friends, I consider a worthy spiritual discipline. Amen. Amen.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 226, People Look East.
The hour winds to its close. We're about to go back into our lives, work, play, a little justice making. We come from this place where we give ourselves a few moments to be together, to remember that we are something beyond our skins, to know that there is an intimacy in this gathering, that itself is a spiritual practice, a discipline, something we try to do over and over as we grow in this life, as we grow deep, as we look for companionship and wisdom and the possibility of a better world. With that grand aspiration, let us go back into the world, into the week. Maybe we'll come back together next. I hear there'll be a better preacher. Come. Oh, I know. That was my kind. I understand the mudra for this is, Really, we're in this together, just as we are. Just as we are. Let us depart in peace and with maybe just a hint of unrest.